We're going to start the meeting at 7 o'clock. We do have a quorum. We have 3 of our board members here present. I'm going to try to speak as loud as I can without a microphone so the people in the back can hear it. Those of you guys who know me know I'm pretty loud normally, but I got a cold coming on. So first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes of the regular meeting held last month, September 30th. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Have a motion. Second. I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. They're approved. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the financial reports. Alan?
Okay, I think the board already has copies probably in the board packet of the financial statements. There are 3 separate things to look at. One is this.
Can you stand up? Stand up and deliver. Can't hear you.
All right, so anyway, you've got a schedule of disbursements, and that shows all the expenditures for the month of September for the district. $34,788.76, and it is broken down by vendor, so you can see every single one of them and every single invoice that they have presented to the district for that total of $34,000 and change. You feel free to look at any of those, ask any questions about those. That is the total disbursement. You also should have a schedule of, these are outside the financial statements. This is just literally showing you what's on the detail of what's on the agenda for the disbursements. Just showing you an itemized list of that. There's also payroll for the district. W-2 payroll was $1,700.90 for the month of September. So those 2 statements together show you what the total disbursements were in terms of expenses for the month of September. I'll give you a minute to look at them. If you have any questions, let me know. And then we'll move on to the financial statements themselves. If you don't have any questions, you can approve them, and we'll move on to financials, or we can discuss any questions.
Is there any discussions on the disbursements for the month of September?
No questions now, but I will probably bring some up when we do later business.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this empty?
We'll finish with your statement before I ask for approval on that.
Okay, so now we have our regular monthly financial statements for the month of September, and those are comprised primarily on pages 2 and 3 of a balance sheet, a statement of net position for the district. It shows our cash, our assets, our liabilities, and you can see that our cash position, cash and certificates of deposit total about $320,000 at the end of September. That is a slight improvement from last month. Your accounts receivable has raised a little bit from prior month. That is due to the rate increase. It's $57,000. It has been hovering somewhere around $35,000. But with the higher rates, the higher bills, that has a higher accounts receivable, and that's why that number is higher. There's been no material change in the customer materials or the capital assets of the district, and there has been no significant change in the liabilities. There still is no outstanding debt. There's accrued expenses of about $29,000, customer deposits of a little over $67,000 for a total of $96,000, and a net worth of $812,000 for the district. Not too much has changed on your balance sheet from last month. If we flip over, are there any questions on cash balances outside of what I just went over? Okay. If you flip the page to page number 3, you'll see both for the month of September and for year to date, the total revenues and the total expenses of the district. For September, total operating revenues were $59,194. Again, that's a fairly significant increase. They've been hovering between $35,000 and $40,000. The rate increase has increased the monthly revenue up to $59,000 for the month of September. The year-to-date revenue, $342,945, and this is all revenues: water usage revenue, late charges and penalties and any other income. The vast majority of it, of course, is for water sales. So those are the revenues for September and year to date. You also have in front of you all of the operating expenses. And you can scan down and see, you don't see any real new ones come up. It wasn't a real heavy month in terms of expenditures. The total was $43,724 of all expenditures. Again, the biggest single line item is this system maintenance and repair, which again for September was very high, $28,073. It's pushing 70% of the total expenditures for the district. And year to date, that number is $220,000. Even so, the $59,000 minus the $43,000 of operating expenses left you with a surplus or a net income of a little over $15,000. There was just a little bit of interest income on the checking account that left us with a total net income for the month of $15,472. So the only continued discussion point really of the financials will be that we're still having I don't wanna use the word excessive, but we're still having, I don't know, a high level of system maintenance and repair expenditures. Higher than we budgeted, higher than we projected when we did this rate increase. And it still could be problematic if we pass on the rest. Year to date, the total expenditures are $396,000 and change, as you can see on the report. Since the total revenues are just shy of $343,000, we are in the red or in the hole $53,899. There's not really any good news to report on that except for that number, at least for the month of September, is not getting larger. It's getting smaller, and we would hope to continue to see that for the remaining 3 months of the year. So that is the financial statement overview in a nutshell. What questions do you have for me?
Do you guys have any questions for Cal? In regards to the financial statements? Okay, I entertain a motion, we approve the disbursements as listed.
Motion.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the operations report. Mona?
Well, we did have, several repairs in, September. Among those repairs, we did make, 3, upgrades on meter pits and lids where, we had the leak in the pit itself, so we, changed those out, upgraded them to a newer loop and, pit and lid. We had, 3 cuts that we had to do on Elm to repair a leak when we got under it. We found 2 leaks instead of 1. We had, several Teslas that, we're waiting on to be replaced for batteries, we haven't gotten them back yet. We can use a different, asphalt company this, time around because not only were they a little cheaper, but they, were able to get to us where the other one that we had been using wasn't available. It, was my understanding from the, meeting that I was not here, that it was brought up about having the composite lids versus the metal lids for meter reading, and while I talked to the manufacturers that I've used, they will read through the metal lids. It can be a little more draining on the batteries, but we are changing those lids out as we come, make upgrades, and we are also, changing them out if they are ones that are hard to read. So, we are addressing that issue and have been for the last couple of years. That's basically it. I mean, unless someone has a question about it.
You wanna elaborate a little bit on, Friday, finishing the programming and alarms?
Oh, we did, get Roddy down here, and they did get the alarms, set up. knock on wood, we haven't had any alarms going off. He also, connected the chlorinators, up, so we have automatic chlorinating, reads. I think they read every 2 minutes, something like that. So we're gaining in that perspective.
One of the items that we had on our short-term plan, was to work on automation, work on the headwaters, making them more reliable, less likely to go down without warning. We've updated Northwood's, system with, pumps that are on demand, so we're not using as much electricity. Those pumps, as well as the generator being automatic now, we've always had a diesel generator up there. It was manually turned on rather than coming on automatically. That's been changed out, and then what she's referring to here is the chlorinators and the other equipment that was added over the last year to help automate and make sure that if anything does go wrong, we know about it before it becomes an issue. Which obviously you guys know in the past, we've had water outages. This is all to alleviate that. Anything else?
I'm sure there is, but I can't think of it.
Yeah, I think you have some questions from us.
The reason why we rock, I just looked at the board, but there was a problem with some of the on repairs.
Speak up.
Okay, basically, I use whoever's available at the time, and, if it's something that I need immediately, I can usually get table rock first. If it's something that I can put off a day or give a few hours, I can get, Rager.
Right.
If it's something that I can put off for quite a while, then I can, try for someone else as far as getting them in. It just depends on what has to be done.
One question I have.
Do you have any questions for them? No.
Yeah, I got a question. How are you billed on these repairs? Is it a set price or is it an hourly price of materials or?
We
How are
furnish
they
all
contracted
materials.
out?
We furnish all materials. The, labor is, and the equipment charges are all that, it comes from the contractor. And again, depending upon what equipment the contractor has, then that will determine whether they're called for a particular job. It depends on if they have the ability to do the plumbing as well as the excavating, as to whether that, they will be called for that. It depends on whether they're on site already building there, and if their rates are comparable to what we can bring somebody else in. It just depends on the situation.
So the contractor pretty much set their own price, that's right.
The contractors set their price, but usually we get a lower price than what, an individual would.
One of the things we're discussing, later on the agenda is, looking at competitive bidding processes, to basically change that whole scenario on how we do it, so, I think, one of our board members here is gonna, discuss that a little bit, so, we will address that as we go forward. All right, moving on to old business, we have elections and irregularities.
Do you have the water loss and pump numbers?
I believe they're in our packet from Mona.
We had 60.44,
The packet we can't see?
sorry,
The packet we can't see.
oh,
Correct, yeah, it's a packet of.
There's 2 months' worth. She wasn't here last month, so we didn't get the water report then, and we needed one from this month.
Okay, can you provide them?
I do not have last month's with me.
We'll get that to you, we'll get Mona to get that to you for.
What about this month?
60.44.
pumped,
60.44
That's the
was
law.
this one.
do you have the raw numbers?
I'm sure we have them.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to elections and irregularities.
And we have the raw numbers, they're in your packet.
Tony, you wanna give them the raw numbers?
Okay, we had, pump was 11,834,000. Sold 4,364,654. Flushing 317,155.
It comes out to 60.44% water loss currently. Okay, let's move on to the next item, elections and irregularities.
Okay, basically elections. The last, meeting that we were at, I brought up the fact that we had some, directors that were in expired terms. So we put out a request, to see if anyone wanted to run, and we had a pretty good response back. And I'll try to go through, we're gonna let, the candidates who came forward to introduce themselves towards the end, and they can give us, their quick little, bio speech to let everybody know who they are. But we have 3 districts that'll actually can have elections, which would be districts 1, 2, and 3. Nobody came forward in District 4 that wanted to run, and nobody came forward in District 5 that wanted to run. The plan, if we can work it out, would be on, when the bills go out, either later this week or the beginning of next week, we would try to put the ballot on the back of the bill. So when you return your bill, you can mark off your choice in your district of who you want to vote for. Basically for District 1, and Lenny, you do want to run again?
I'm not sure just yet, there's some family problems.
Okay. Lenny was representing District 3, but he actually lives in District 1. So if he does run again, we'd have 3 people in District 1 running. Lenny, James, and we have a new individual, Mr. Potter, who would like to run. In District 2,
And to clarify why there's 3 of us in there, because I've been on the board, there was no members on the board, and they asked me to join to be a representative, and I said I would, so there's more District 3, District 1, District 2, that's how I got to be in. I'm in District 1, but you said District 3, didn't you?
yeah, that's where you're currently listed, District 3.
Right, so. I just wanted to give an explanation why I was in District 3, but living in District 1.
Will we know what district we're in order to vote?
The district
Yes.
map is actually on the PWSD's website, so you can pull it up there and see it, it's outlined.
Plus, our goal is if you live in District 1, when you get your bill, you're only gonna have District 1 candidates on the back of your bill. Those in District 2 would only have District 2 candidates, and those in 3 would only have District 3 candidates. In a perfect world, that's gonna work maybe, we'll see.
You got Amanda over there sweating.
I do have one more thing to say. Also on the website, the map is a little difficult to read, a little difficult to decipher, but there are street names, for the sub-districts with the house addresses as well that are on there. So if you can't quite decipher the map, those listed, they are on there as well. So it's a little easier to clarify that way.
District 2, we have John Sargent who would like to run. Is it Crystal Usher who would like to run? Christie? And, David Jones, do you want to run?
If Christie's going to, then I'd rather put my support there.
Okay, all right.
We live like pretty much.
Okay, so we have, two people then in that district. In District 3, we have, Mr. Nybarger and Mr. Eddie, who would like to run for District 3, so they would be on the District 3 ballot. And, like I said at the end, if those individuals are here, they're gonna have an opportunity to let you know who they are and, get to meet them.
Bob, is there a deadline for applications? That was never put out. I asked a question, but it was never answered.
Well, we were hoping, when I talked last meeting, that we would try to get the election done. My goal is to try to get the election done by the middle of next month, because we have a big decision to make by the end of November with the bond ballot being on the February ballot. So I'd rather have a fuller board available to have their input on that. Not that the three of us can't make the decision, but I think it's better if we have more people putting their input. Yes?
I just wanna point out that you might wanna check state statutes 247.060, because having an internal election is not the way this is supposed to go. At this point, you guys are supposed to have an appointment, people fill out applications, you appoint somebody by a vote of the board. If that vacancy is before 6 months of the election,
Our bylaws say different.
your attorney has already stated that
State
you're not
statutes
going
is
by the
the same
bylaws,
now.
and you
Okay.
have to
Definitely
follow
need to
state
check with the
statutes.
All
So just, you might wanna look into that before you waste the money of sending all of the ballots out and go through all of that time. If it's more than 6 months before the election, which is April, then you appoint the person through the board and you vote on those applications. And then that person goes up for election in April immediately to fill that expired or non-expired term. And then if it's within that 6-month window, then the vote has to go through a full and legal process through the county clerk, not an internal vote. So I'm saying that to save you the time
Yeah, that's
to
fine.
research that, because I hate for you guys to sit and spend all this time trying to do an internal vote when that's not legal.
I stand corrected, and I don't know why I don't have you on speed dial.
Or, you know, what was it, I got 247.06.
It's 247.060.
Alright, thank you.
Okay, I say that's it for this for right now.
Who's
So
gonna fill District 4 and 5?
Currently, District 4 is Jason, and District 5 is, I am currently representing District 5.
Has anybody gone up for election like they were supposed to in the past? What, Lenny, have you ever been on the ballot?
No,
You've been on for 6 years and you've never,
never been on that.
When I was up for election last time, nobody ran against me, so there was not a ballot initiative, I was just reappointed, because nobody ran against me.
And I think that's what happened with me, to be honest with you, so.
Do you guys plan to do the president, vice president elections? You can do that internally.
After we have a full board.
You're operating without a president.
No, we're not, we can continue with what we're doing until we have the election. I brought up the fact that his term ended in April, but we can continue until we have the election. I would like to give every opportunity we can to have a proper election. election or the proper appointments, as you said, then we have 4 days after that to have the election,
Right.
the election for president and vice president.
So when you appoint somebody to the board, so right now you have one open position. You have 4 board members as of now and 1 open position. No matter what district they live in, you can appoint them to fulfill that empty district, even if they don't live there, that's state statutes. You will have a full board then. That's where there's no minutes, there's no record of who is an expiring term and who is a non-expiring term. If they're filling a non-expiring term, they still have to go up for election in April. So you fill that position now by appointment, and then they go up for election in April. So you can have your full board, get your president, your vice president. We can talk later.
Duly noted. Duly noted. So that's it for elections, so right now.
Okay, let's move on to the next item, which is, the discussion with, in regards to the letter of intent with Missouri American Water.
We're fortunate that tonight, we have Matt Barnhart from Missouri American. He is the, Director of Operations for Southwest Missouri. And, he was kind enough to come out here tonight, to let him explain, his process that we're going through. And if there's any questions, I'm sure he'd be happy to take a few. We don't wanna have 2 hours on this session right now, but.
Wow, there's a lot of it. That was nearly 1 premium people. Like he said, my name is Matt Barnhart. I work for Missouri American Water Company. Have for 25 years. And as of this morning, I was still working there when I left, so hopefully tonight won't be the same way. What is Missouri American Water Company? Missouri American Water Company is a regulated utility in the state of Missouri. They are part of an organization called American Water. That's at our top level. We have 13 states. Each company is their own company. So Missouri American is its own company. Illinois American is its own company. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, it's like I said, 13 states. Regulated utility. This is where regulated utility people get confused. So regulated utility is we take in investments from the stock market. We also borrow money, and we make investments into systems that we own. We own the systems. So we take that money, we invest it in the system, and you go to the regulator and you say, hey, I've invested this much money in the system. This is where we feel rates should be to pay back that debt. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused. We come in, it's like us selling a car. I'm gonna tell you I want $1,000 for the car. And if you've ever seen, if you walk the way through the process, they now have a full-blown 11-month process that has expert witnesses, lawyers, all kinds of studies. They audit everything I do. Last rate case, got audited for donuts on training meeting. So they go through everything. The regulated utility is a lot different, and I had to learn that because that's all I've ever worked for. When I was growing up, my dad worked for a public water district. We repaired mains, but I didn't understand the business of it at all. So on a regulated, that's all I've ever done. In the regulated world, I have a tariff, that's my rule book. And so there's not really anything everybody's like, are you afraid to be taped? Are you afraid to be, no, because everything I do is in the rule book. So it's black and white really. So I can't come in and set the rates. I don't invest, if I put $10 million into your system, I can say that they ought to be $100 a month, but that don't mean anything because this goes through a regulated process. We go through this whole 11-month process. And then, if we can't come to an agreement with all the interveners, all the public or expert witnesses, then it actually goes to the state of Missouri commissioners, and they make the ruling. And there is no appeal process. That's what it is, and that's where you're at. I learned a very valuable lesson on that. So every situation that I've took a purchase since a system actually down here, of all systems, I can tell you, if we purchased your system, we would propose the rates to be this. Well, now we put every one of those in the agreement. Before, we said, okay, that's what we would like for it to be. When it went to the commission changed the rates. So it makes me look like a liar. And I've never got over it, I'll be honest with you. So now I put it in paper, now I put it in paper. And I learned that on the regulatory world. You put it in a contract, you put it in a tariff. There is no buddy deals, there is no hiring this, doing that. I've been accused of hiring my buddies, I've been accused of all that stuff. That doesn't exist in my world, because we have to do it a certain way, or we are found guilty of operating practices. What do they do for that? They take money from you. So, as you can see, higher ups, I get a fine, NOV, any of that stuff that takes money away, I'm no longer here. So, that's kind of how what we are. We taking money from investors. We're American owned. I keep getting that. I don't know where that come up. We're American owned. Been in Missouri. I operate out of the Joplin system. 139 years is as long we've owned that system. So, questions? What do you got?
Yeah, you mentioned that you're American owned, but you're also, have investors.
Mhm.
So how do people invest, and is it open on the stock market where
AW.
countries could purchase?
They could, but there's already people that own the stock. AWK is our call sign. Right now, we are owned by the teachers unions, police and fire unions, and retirement plans. That's who owns a big portion of us. Yes, ma'am.
How many members do you have in your Kimberly City two small districts?
How many, customers or?
Yes,
Well, in Kimberly City, can't be, what, 150? 150.
So how many's in Stone, the public water supply #1 Stone County?
845.
Okay.
And then,
And what is your letter of intent between your company and the Stone County #1?
letter of intent is that we would research the system on our side, research the system, see if there's anything that would just red flags us, to see actually what you would be running and purchasing, or however that
So are
works.
you wanting to take over the Stone County #1? Is that what you're wanting to do?
We are interested in looking and seeing if a deal can be made.
So you're not willing to let Stone County take your customers in Kimberly City? Because public water supply #1 obviously has many more customers.
Mhm.
So why are you not looking at giving those customers to Stone County #1 then?
They could purchase them. I mean, if that was an agreement between the two.
But your letter of intent doesn't spell that out.
No, we have 1.5 million customers in the state of Missouri.
I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about Kimberly City.
Kimberly City is.
Because that's what our bond issue is gonna be, it's gonna be Kimberly City, not state of Missouri.
Yeah, and we won't be, you know, we have our own water districts that we could buy water if they were in water by us, or we could do that, but we'd just be another developer or owner here.
PWSD's not in a position to take over those. We're already in the market that much less, so they're not in a position to take them over.
Might help read into that Kimberly City is also working with you.
Yes, we've talked to Kimberly City for 8 years, 9. Oh, yeah. I talked to him, yes.
How many certified operators do you have that are available to provide safe, clean drinking water to PWSD members and customers? Because finding certified water operators is difficult.
So I'm a Class C and DS3 operator for the state of Missouri. I'm the registered operator for the systems in the Branson region.
So then even with Missouri American, we have certified operators working on our water lines and treating our water and
That
doing
is-
the whole thing.
That is correct. We also have a large number of DS2 operators in my office.
They're eligible.
And we're continuing to educate those folks and get them their distribution system licenses every year. Our office manager has a DS3 license, which is a license that you would use to run a system such as.
Been doing this state of Missouri. We have, to answer your question, I think.
In our
In
office.
this area.
In this area.
Yeah.
So one of my big concerns, with the current status of the water district is there's no fire flow. So therefore my insurance rates are higher, because my insurance rating is, indicative of not having any, fire flow. It's pretty much, if there is a fire at my house, it's gonna be 100% loss. My insurance premiums, obviously higher. My value of my home, obviously is lower because we consistently have water losses, water leaks, and the rates for the water district, the current water district is gonna go up. What is your plan and what is the timeline to make improvements to decrease water loss and to get fire flow to these homes?
Our process. I haven't even talked yet. Sorry, I couldn't steal that. I had to steal that. I don't get clap right on. So our plan, what we do, I'll just tell you what I've done and what can be done. So what I've done on systems that have been like this, different communities, is we come in, and I know you have an engineering report, and I know you're engineers. We come in, and we did an assessment already, just an assessment of what, they were very good to us. They gave us information, they allowed us to take a real look, and, you know, the fire flow is a big issue. Because a lot of it was public water districts weren't set up for that. They were set up just to supply water, not gonna be in the fire world. So you have tank issue, you have bush station issue, you have main size issue. That's the three big ones. What we do, so we learned from the community that's a priority. And that's what I did with the last community. I met with them, hey, what is the priorities? Give me the priorities. Well, keep my bill low, okay, got that. The second one was I want fire flow, okay. So what can we give here to get there? So you gotta build a new tank, you gotta build a bush station, you gotta build infrastructure, and you got a non-revenue water problem. All of that comes into a plan of how long you wanna stretch it out and how long, what you wanna do with rates. Now for us, we are set up different than a lot of companies. Like I said, we're a regulated utility, we serve 1 in 4 customers in Missouri, our rates are set by the commission, and just the same story, that little community here that they end up taking our rates instead of the rates that they were paying. Mad as hell. These people hate my guts still to this day. Now, they pay less than you do, and they got $1.5 million well last year. And the amount of water they use in a day, anywhere else in the state of Missouri that we take care of, use more water per customer than any system we have. And we don't say Lewis County.
Are your rates established by the area you're in right now, or are they shared across the 1.5 million people?
They're shared. Our rates are shared.
Across the state?
$40.
What?
Mine's lower than that, but they still mean $40. That's what I saw in the paperwork too.
So on the back of that letter that we got, it showed different options. So, I mean, do you all decide then which one of those options we should be doing, or?
That's the board, that's not.
And that goes up to election.
We vote for what option we want.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you feasibly see a timeline from a point of agreement and a vote?
Yeah.
If there was a transfer to Missouri American, what is a timeline to get fire flow? Or to get less than 70% water?
The first, you know.
I know it all has to be addressed together.
My plan was we would do our engineering report internally, but we'd have people that's what they do. So, and they did come down and get a lot of the information. So they're putting it together, but I can't spend a bunch of money on something that I don't know I'm not gonna. So we got, and I'm speaking high level, because I don't wanna say.
Give me a big range. Is it a year, is it 10 years?
It starts with the tank. What comes into that is where you built that tank. Now, the city of Kimberling City, if they want water in certain areas, if we were part of that too, you wanna build it at your highest point. You don't wanna push water back up the hill. So it comes into those kind of agreements. Now, they can't just sit and we all sit around and talk about it for 20 years. I get that and understand it completely. But we'd have to come up with a timeline to move it forward. And most of the time, it's gonna take 12 to 18 months after the public would vote to dissolve it and go with Missouri American. In that 12 to 18 months gives us time to decide the direction forward.
But then so you're voting on to do it,
Yep.
but you don't know what your rates are gonna be or what the costs are gonna be.
I know what the rates will be. The rates are set.
The water rate, that's different from your investment in this infrastructure, correct? Or is it rolled into that?
That goes back to your going before the PSC for another rate increase
Yeah.
later on due to your investment.
Yeah, we're not, that's a great question, actually. We're not allowed to recoup costs until we build it, it's in service, then we can go in. Now, when we go in, we don't just go in for the Kimberlin City systems. We go in for the whole state of Missouri. It costs us about $1 million to file a rate case for the state of Missouri, for that 11-month process. So if we do an investment here, we're not gonna take the rest of the state in, and we'll wait till we get enough investment everywhere till we go in for a rate hearing.
But-
When you go in for that rate hearing, then they decide. They come out and inspect us.
So it's the water rate, everything is rolled into your water rate,
Yes, ma'am?
there's nothing separate.
No.
Are our water rates higher now than what they will be? I'm sorry.
They're higher, yes. Higher, yes, sir.
Well, mine isn't on the rates, I just got a question
Please.
about a problem we've had. For the last 4 years, we've had leak after leak after leak, and the leaks run in under our basement.
Mhm.
It's their pipes, but they run under our basement, and
Yeah.
we've got one now that starting this week, it's been leaking for 8 weeks. And our basement's got water in it. Now, how do you guys take care of something like that
They're-
once it's reported?
They're fighting the fight. They have a plastic pipe. It's not, what the quality that I would use, it's what they used back in the day, because it was cheaper. The problem that what we end up having to do on those types of situations is I invest a lot of money digging and finding where the water is.
But should we have to wait that long for somebody to come down and check it out? 8 weeks?
Now, what would your response time be?
Well, our response time to have a 24-hour center that would call out someone and they'd come out. So I'll just tell you that's how we operate if we're called out.
Well,
But I don't know your
we've
situation.
called several times, and all they say is, well, we haven't been able to find the leak.
You're talking about here, you're talking about the PWSD.
Okay.
I can give you an example of Generations Bank. Many of you probably know Generations Bank here across the street. They had a leak across their parking lot that they fought for a very long time. We would go out, we found leaks in their system. They got their leaks repaired, the water continued to leak. So they would call us back, we came back out, and long story short, we spent months looking for that leak until we finally found it. That leak was underneath the highway. So there's a casing pipe that goes underneath Highway 13 that carries a pipe inside of that casing. We had to excavate on both sides, pull that pipe out, pull new pipe in.
They've got lines that they painted down on the road, but that leak ain't down there, because if it was, it wouldn't be running under our house.
Well, those lines, to be fair, are probably utility locates, and they're required by law to do that before they dig. So that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where the leak is, but that's identifying where the utilities are located
But
under
we've
the
got a
street.
nice big spot right on the neighbor's yard where there's a nice
Yeah.
row of green
And
grass.
so you have to understand also that the infrastructure here is buried in rock. And you can have a leak here that shows up a mile downstream because it follows the rock until it finally surfaces somewhere. And then you go out there, and I mean, this happens to us every day. We'll go out and dig and dig and dig and cannot find a leak. Eventually, you have to work your way to the leak side, and it's not an easy process, but.
So the fact is, the current system of PWSD is in total disrepair. At 70% water loss, 60 to 70. Would your plan be to come in and go through the entire system, install new mains through the entire system, obviously over a period of time?
It'll be an infrastructure replacement.
Yeah. So that would be your plan?
Yeah, what we do, I should have finished that. What we do is we go through and identify, they know where the trouble areas are and stuff like that. We set up projects, and every year we should replace the main line.
So infrastructure will be your first priority, or is it going to be fire flow?
Infrastructure would be the first, but infrastructure.
So fire flow could be 8 years down the road.
Infrastructure is part of fire flow. It's for us. The reason is that.
So you're saying that on my street with fire flow, when you're doing interstructure, I'm going to have fire hydrants on every street in our town?
What you would be doing is you would start getting 8-inch main line that would handle the fire flow.
Correct, so that's
You still have to
interstructure.
build a tank and a booster station. If you built the tank at the high spot, you wouldn't have a booster station. But you still have to build a big enough tank to be able to.
So
do
the
it.
interstructure we're going first, and then the tank possibly down the road?
They would both simultaneously happen. So after the decision was where you would build it, where we could get it done, then you would start, but you would already start replacing infrastructure because of the non-revenue water problem.
So people have to understand that this isn't an overnight 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year fix. This could be 8 years down the road.
Definitely. My guess was gonna be 10 years before you're.
Yeah, or even up to 10, so some people expect immediate.
No, we wouldn't repipe the whole district.
And I think they all need to understand that this is just like when you have a leak.
That's been mentioned several times.
That's McCombs.
It would take you, it's not financially responsible.
Okay, so, we're talking about land replacement as being one of the priorities, if you guys take over. I know you guys have taken over 2 water districts within Kimberly City. One, the city of Kimberly City owned was about 32, 34 customers. And then you guys also bought one that, I think Mona owned at one point. Out of those, how much line replacement, what percentage of the systems have you replaced the lines on those?
Woodland Manor's quite a bit.
Yeah, we put a new main in. We have, plans in 2025
I saw that you connected to.
to
that was not
extend
on the
that.
existing,
Yeah, to extend that main, our current plan is to extend the main that we've already put in and also create loops so that you have a loop for the water so that you don't get stale water at the ends of dead end lines. And then we also have plans of combining the 2 systems, taking Golden Acres completely offline, letting Woodland, cover both systems. That would also require possibly drilling a new well. We have a comprehensive planning study that is currently underway. We're doing some work with Olson Engineering, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with, in upgrading the infrastructure here in Woodland. And once they give us their plans and what they feel like is feasible, then we'll take and roll that into our comprehensive planning study and then do the whole ranch project.
The other thing is too, it's also the conversations with you.
And also, if you would acquire the water company, you acquire all the assets. Those assets don't stay in our community, they go through all of Missouri, correct? It goes into a pot, correct?
The assets?
Because you're acquiring the assets.
Yes, if Missouri American takes over the water district, we basically go to a vote to dissolve the public aspect of the water district, and they would take over the assets, yes.
And that is
The
distributed
physical
through
assets.
Missouri.
The physical assets, which is the pipe underground, the pumps.
Also the cash that's in CDs?
No,
Well, then where does that money go?
that goes back to the water district to deal with.
To the customers, correct?
Or we can designate that money to go towards fixes.
Specific relief repairs. Out of the 2 water districts that you guys currently have in Kimberly City, and I know you got them cross-connected, correct? Between the 2 now?
That is correct.
Okay, that's where the fire hydrants are on. Okay.
We have them cross-connected, but we currently do not, we have it isolated.
Gotcha.
They're still independent of each other.
Because of dam.
How many years have you guys managed those 2, or owned those 2?
I've only been here, Mona, do you know when that's set? Because I've only been here a year and a half or so.
Probably been 10 years?
I'd say, well, but yeah.
Do you know what the current water loss is on those 2 water districts, what you're pumping versus what you're selling?
I don't.
I'd have to look at our DNR report, but I can get you that information and.
I was just curious, because I tried to find it, I couldn't find it anywhere, I wanted to see kind of where we compare to other systems that were of similar age, so. The other thing I had a question on you, I know a lot of people in this room, because the rate jumped quite a bit for us to cover basically expenses of the repairs. Like you said, we're basically playing whack-a-mole, we're fighting an uphill battle with plastics. I understand that we can look up your current rate, but do you guys currently have a rate proposal in front of the regulatory authority right now? And do you know what that rate will go to when that, if and when that gets passed?
No.
Okay. The last question I had is, we talk about fire flow, which would require a much larger tank. In most cases, I would think either a very large standpipe at the top of the hill, probably up by the Public Works building, or an elevated tower. Is the intent that if you guys take this over, you guys would be solely responsible for producing the water storage for the potential fire flow that'll come into the neighborhoods?
Correct.
So you guys would?
That would be part of the agreement, how you structured the deal.
Okay. If the public decides to completely dissolve the water district and you guys take it over, that agreement would hold up in court? Any previous agreements, or can it be reevaluated at a later date by the PSC?
It's like if a purchase agreement with us and you is regulated by the Public Service
But there
Commission
wouldn't be
forever.
any us anymore, because we would be.
The contracts, who regulates is the Public Service Commission.
Okay, so it would be under the PSC, okay. Just let everybody know, there is property up by the Public Works Department that was purchased many years ago. The intent of purchasing that property is at the highest point in the city. The city did acquire that property for some time in the future to put elevated water there, which would be able to service the entire city with pressure. So there was some forethought many years ago involved in doing that. So when they're talking about putting water at the highest point, more than likely that would be some kind of negotiation with the city to acquire that land in order to establish that water tower. So, does anybody else on the board have questions?
The city would not be involved with anything of your company, correct?
Can I just say something?
We only operate in the city. So
No, but the city wouldn't have any say in the company for Kimberly City. The city would have nothing to say about that.
How about if I
got somebody from
try to answer that? I'm Dawn
Yeah, I
Gardner.
know, Don.
Yes, and by the way, we're having another informational meeting tomorrow night on the future of water in Kimberly City at City Hall at 6:30. So everybody's welcome to attend. This will be our second meeting, and I'm trying to answer these questions and kind of talk about the process at those meetings. Our goal as a city is to have consolidated water, one water system. Right now we have 5, and it's a problem with development, it's a problem with housing developments, it's a problem with business developments, because the districts we have now that are in the areas of where we need to develop cannot supply water, and they're required to build wells, which is expensive, and they're required to build elevated tanks for fire suppression, because you have to be able to protect your business from fire, which is city code now, so you don't have that option, you have to build the elevated tank.
So you're more interested in the city than people that live here.
That is not true. That is not true, and that is not what I said. No, it is not true.
I would say it's one and the same, the people that live here in the city.
Yeah.
And
What
dogs
I'm
are fast.
asking, if they take over
Yes.
the water in Kimberly City, the whole Kimberly City, if the other agencies wanna join, is the city involved in any way in decision-making, any kickbacks, operation of it?
yes,
Let me
Oversight?
done by
I'm not
owners.
saying, I know you want water,
No.
for the whole city,
If you
but I'm
let me-
saying, the city doesn't have anything to say about when they take over, their operation.
Yeah, we operate in their town.
They
Yeah.
operate in their town, but they don't have anything to
It's
say
called a
about it.
partnership.
Just like they don't have any say in what we do. for
That's what I'm
PWSD.
asking.
They're not abide by city code.
They have to
Yeah,
abide by city
everyone.
code, they're regulated by the PSC. Springfield, Missouri, the city of Springfield does not own the water system. They are a partner with city utilities. We would see ourselves as a partner with Missouri American. They make decisions together.
Yes, but would you have anything to say in it, besides the
Yes.
regular,
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
you have a veto
Leg-
vote? You
Legally,
veto something?
I can tell you from the regular side, legally, they can intervene in the rate case, any kind of rate hearings. Legally, they can put a judgment against me for not operating with the PSC, because we're regulated. They have the right legally to put those on me. Well, the PSC then takes over and investigates it. Those are formal complaints of people, someone's leaving from my job if it gets to that point. So, yes, there is legal recourse. A lot of cities don't know that.
No, we would not be running any of the business aspect of the water, which we do not now.
But the way you talk about it, it gives people the wrong impression that you're going to, you wanna get all these companies together, and I think people are getting the wrong impression sometimes. And that's what I wanted to straighten out.
That's a good point, I mean, that is a valid point.
Because
They would, Missouri American or any third party, PWSD is a service provider within the city.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a good
That's what I'm
point.
saying, because a lot of
Yeah.
people were talking about, well, the city is gonna be involved in all this and take over because they want this one water. That's why I was asking.
But it's not city-owned, like I believe Branson West is city-owned utilities.
Yeah.
So they can raise rates, like the aldermen can decide and raise rates whenever they want
I
without
understand
a
that,
vote
but
of
a lot of
the
people don't, see, and
Yes.
that's what I wanted to bring up.
So that's a good point.
Yeah,
that you
for us, to answer your question, in all fairness, is the Public Service Commission, we announced that we're having a rate case. People think we get double rates all the time. We announced that, hey, we want $10 a month to pay all these bills. Then it goes into, you have public hearings, which I've got public hearings.
Yeah, I understand that, I
You
understand
get
that.
that part of it, some of them might. But the cities, if we don't operate correctly, the cities can levy a complaint.
It's just
But
that-
business-wise, all runs through us and the PSC. That's our
And a lot of
regulator.
people didn't understand it
Yeah,
because they,
yeah.
you know.
There's a significant amount more regulation than just.
And MDNR, just like the board, you know, public water district number one currently has.
PSC's kind of both, like for us.
I have a few more questions for you.
Yep.
So we entered into a letter of intent with you to kind of examine and look over the possibility of what it would look like if you were to take that, and, you know, take over the water district. And we did, you said we did supply you with all the information that you need, you guys kind of did your own little internal study on it.
High level.
We had never gotten, you guys never came back to the board after that. We were expecting some presentation from you guys on that. The LOA had a non-compete clause in there for 180 days, which is long expired. We did finally reach back out to you guys to find out what was going on. My question is, we're talking about 5 districts in the water district, in the city of Kimberling City. We have 4 other districts. Have you entered into an LOI with any of those?
Any of the other systems?
Yeah, the other 4 systems are in Kimberling City, no, okay. Also, my other question would be, and this may be a question more for the city, but I would think that it would involve you guys too. Has there been any discussion or talk about, Missouri American, if they do get all 5 water districts in the city, would they also acquire the sewer system? The city sewer?
No, we have not had that discussion.
Okay.
And on the LOI, in all fairness, that was whenever your board blew up. So that's kind of the big road I got lost.
And we're still at meetings every month. I mean, we could have got a presentation.
Matt, how many times, since we're gonna go down this route, how many times did you reach out to Jason and did not receive a call back?
That was Nathan, we did find that out. That's Nathan, the guy that was doing the contracts here, so.
How many times was that?
That would be his fault for that portion.
He left the company.
He left the company, so they were
But
responding.
how many times did
They were
you,
responding to him, and he wasn't telling us.
Bingo.
They were telling him.
the what now?
They responded to Nathan. He used to work for our company.
PWSD responded to Nathan?
Yep,
That,
yep, yep.
that's great, good,
Yep, yep, yep.
good to know.
And we were not getting, like I said, we were expecting a presentation at the end of their research process. If you look at the LOI, there's a gathering of information. They crunch numbers, they do some looking into it, whether or not they're even interested. They would come back to the water district and say, yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong on this process. Yeah, we are interested, this is what it would look like if we were to take over.
So, close, but what the LOI does is we came and look at it, see if there's anything that red flags it, then we come back to a board meeting. By the way, the attorney said you can't have a meeting, I have meetings all the time with boards. But it's us to sit down and then you tell me what is important that the public's told you. How do you want it structured? You guys tell me, I don't tell you. You tell me fire protection, lower bills, infrastructure replacement. And then I can take it and say, okay, this is what I can do here, 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 and here to give you provisions. But it's not us telling you anything. I need to know what you want.
I have a question. So, you can't exactly hook a 10-inch water main up to what we thought. Would you like run your main down 13 and then work from like the lowest part and bring it back up? How do you hook a new water main
Most of ours is 8
2-inch water mains that are falling apart.
But whenever we run trunk lines, the main line is what we'll replace for the first, and then come off of them. You kind of
So
start,
you
start
work
on,
backwards.
yeah, you start on where the areas, there's some other things that we would do to your system to reduce some of your non-revenue water that wouldn't be replaced on this phase two. Yeah, that's what it is, because it's not tracking. Now DNR, I mean, she's gotta go through and how much did you flush, and how much did you do this, and how much did you do that? So it's not, there's some stuff there. Yeah.
And to be quite fair, non-revenue water in this area is quite high for not just your system, but a lot of systems. This area is just prone to that because of the way the rock is, right?
Topography.
We're in.
My front yard's been dug up 3 times over the years, and in every case, it was a rock that rubbed a hole in a plastic pipe.
Absolutely.
Anybody goes by my house,
Water
sees
pipes move.
and that nice green grass, and now I've got a dirt.
And it's not bedded right for installation.
So, I don't know who it was that said it, but I heard something over here a while ago, and I want you to clear this up for everybody. What would happen to you all if there were kickbacks? There's absolutely no kickbacks whatsoever, because people, matter of fact, an employee on the, PWSD, for PWSD, has stated that on Facebook, that the city was getting kickbacks. And I would like for you to clear that up for the room tonight. Kickbacks from American Water.
That an employee is getting kickback?
No, there was an employee for PWSD that stated on social media that the city employees of Kimberly City were getting kickbacks from American Water.
Wine
Would you
and
please,
dine.
I mean, wine and dine, would you please clear that up tonight?
That would equal jail time.
Yeah, that's honestly, no,
I'm not-
he's not joking. I mean, that's how the regulator works. You wouldn't be here.
I can't even take a member of the PSC or Indian Arts on lunch.
Right.
It's against the law.
Yes, ma'am.
As part of this, one of the other questions I've had for years is when we moved in, our water pressure was so low, it was to the point of bordering on illegal. And it's improved somewhat, but it's not above 35 PSI. Do you foresee that that would also improve with the infrastructure things you have to do to put in the fire mains and everything else throughout the district?
If you're developing into that level where you could produce the PRVs, pressure reducing valves, different things in the system, yeah. Yeah, you're gonna try, and that's the hard part about topography, elevation change, is one person's got 150 and one person's got 35. So, top of the hill, that's an issue that,
Yeah, so homes that are typically on top of the hill do sometimes require residential booster pumps of their own. Again, just because of the lay of the land, like Jason mentioned, the topography here is obviously high and low elevations and a mixture of that. So, it's physics. And the law of physics tells you that and the higher you go up, the lower the pressure. So you have to have pumps that can push that pressure up. The law requires that we supply 20 pounds of pressure at all times.
That's what the law is. Well, when he says that, that's a law for everybody in the state of Missouri, but the system's meant to be designed at 35 PSI by engineering, by normal day. So 20 is whenever you have problems.
That 20 is to prevent
Bacteria.
And suction back into the main line.
Okay, as far as the rates, if you took over, say, it happened in the next 6 months, a year, or whatever, your rates would be lower than what we have now?
If we even got what we proposed, I didn't see, I saw that you called it a 3/4, most of our residential meters are 5/8. So there is a different rate to it.
I calculated it, and right now, I mistakenly calculated a 3/4 inch meter instead of 5/8, so it actually be less, but based on calculations for the average user, Missouri, if we had Missouri American, our rates would be 25% less than they are with PWSD rate increase. Right now.
Doesn't count
Yeah, I think
bonding.
we are,
No.
like I said,
What are the rates? What are the rates? Do you, like, we pay a base rate and then we pay per gallon? What is your rates?
we pay a meter charge, just like they're set up, and we've got a per thousand charge.
What are the charges?
The 5/8 meter is $10 per month. The PWSD, is $26.38. And then the usage for Missouri American is $8.
That's ours. That's
Hang on, I need my glasses. I'm trying to, it is, $8.37, 8.3781 per 1,000 gallons.
And what's their base?
Their base is $10.
Their base is 10.
And then, yeah, PWSD is 26.38 is the base, and the usage is 8, so.
Are
We're
your
gonna
rates?
move on, I appreciate the time, we're definitely gonna, spend more time talking with you about this.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, guys.
We're gonna move on to new business employee handbook, I believe, this is back over to you again.
Okay, it's a long time coming. I started working on this shortly after I joined, was appointed to the board, and a special thank you to Alan for giving me a real boost in getting this done. Well, we have an employee handbook that I'm calling a working copy right now, because everything that's in here probably doesn't pertain. We do have to probably make some changes, but we're gonna have to come up with some kind of a committee to go through it and decide it, but we're that much closer to having an actual employee handbook so that our lone employee has something to go by. But anyway, that's, I consider that good news.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you for your time.
You're investing a lot of time, I do appreciate it, and it's very welcome. Next item on, new business is contractor liability insurance. Amanda?
That's,
That's you?
yeah, I'm gonna lump these two together, competitive bidding and, liability insurance. One of the other things that we have been thinking about for a while was to get competitive bidding. And the one thing I didn't realize that had happened, that I just found out today, that Mona and Amanda back in August had contacted 4 different companies and did get back rate sheets of what they would charge us for mobilization, for equipment, hourly rates, that kind of stuff. And that's what they've been kind of working off of. I want to take this like one step further and actually work up an RFP that we can advertise in the paper, might even go as far as Springfield paper, put it in the Branson paper, and then maybe even our little Stone County Republican paper, just to see what we can get from that and look at the rates again. And on top of that, liability insurance, we have to make sure the contractors supply us with that. And the good news is we did have quite a few liability insurance waiver certificates on file. However, most of them I think are at the expiring level right now, so we'd have to get them to update those for us. So as we move forward here, and as soon as I get back from my tiny little vacation I'm getting ready to take in a couple of days, we'll jump back on into that. So I just wanted to bring that up, because I know that's been talked about for a while, and we're trying to get there,
Anybody have any questions? Okay, we're gonna move on to,
yeah, we do have one more thing Alan wants to bring up here.
But this is kind of ancillary related to the financial statements, and I have some concern, it's kind of been brought up really with all of this stuff. I have some concern, but I'm lacking in knowledge, but I'm puzzled and perplexed by the amount of repairs and maintenance. And I'm not in a position to say yes or no, these repairs need to be done, or when they need to be done, I don't know. I do see something on the invoices that Lenny brought up. I don't see an hourly rate that's communicated to the district on these invoices. And that's, as an accountant, that's problematic for me. But I also don't know how to develop an expectation for time for some of these repairs, what guidance is given to the repairs. I'm simply lacking in knowledge. And so what I have done and passed out to the board is just given written down on this stuff about a dozen questions that I would like our operator to go through and answer to educate us and the board so we know exactly how things are from the time that a leak is reported to the time a leak is done, what that process is, what communications and instructions we're giving to the contractors, how we are determining what contractors to use, who's inspecting it when it's done, et cetera. And once we have that information, and I think Mona's really the only person who can provide it, then the board can assess it, and we can then use it to tweak, and maybe it becomes part of this request for proposal. It's information that would just be helpful, because I feel like the board might be like me flying blind on some of these things. And I'm not suggesting anybody's doing anything wrong, but we at least need to have stated rates on the invoices that are provided to us. And I would like to see it tied to a request for proposal or some kind of an agreement. And this would be the first step of doing that. Doing something now without having all the information from Mona really wouldn't be as helpful as it would be if we get this information, then incorporate the request for proposals, then have bids, then have stated rates, then we get invoices that have rates on them that we can go back and compare to the bids, that we can kind of police our own work a little bit more. So that's why I have provided that information to you, so that we can start the process and have it when you got it next month for the bid.
Well, I think the questions that you're asking, will definitely shed some light onto a better competitive bid process that you talked about at the last meeting, trying to come up with triaging tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, something along those lines for repairs. I know Mona, you'd be willing to work with Alan and get these, have you looked through these yet? Or?
I did look through them.
I think they're gonna be relatively easy to answer, but that's also gonna give us some understanding of where our weak points are too, so.
If the board get questioned on rates, and the rates should be directed right back onto me, because I'm the one who did the calculations. I'm hopeful that we're spending some money on repairs that we could not spend on repairs, but that's an accountant saying that, and it may be wishful thinking. But I'd like to arm ourselves with this knowledge so we can justify the rates that we have, and if not, understand exactly where our money is going and why. And repairs is by far the biggest single expense, so I'd like to help to the extent I can get a hand in that.
One of the other things I want to talk about, we've already talked about the financial reports, and we're talking about that. We voted on a previous meeting to approve the rate increase, and when billing went out on last month, the rate increase was applied to that. However, your bills were billed to you for the previous 30 days of water use. Amanda, you want to go over that a little bit on how it's going to be credited back?
Yes.
So we're not charging you for a rate that was pre us voting on a rate increase.
Right, so what we've done, is you all saw a rate increase on your previous bill. The board has decided that to offset a little bit of, panic and, diffuse quite a bit of situation, to offer a credit back onto your account. So what we have done, and this has already been done, is we contacted the software company, and they went through, and your next bill will be calculated back on the previous rate.
The bill that just went, that they just paid.
We'll be a credit for the difference.
Oh, that's right, the bill you just paid was recalculated with the previous rate, that's what it was. And so you will have a credit on your account when you get your next bill, which will be very nice.
The next bill will be actually.
But the next bill will also reflect the new rate. Sorry, I didn't want to say that too loud. But you will have a bonus, a credit on there to look forward to. So when you get your bill, you will see a line item that will say a CR. It may be in parentheses or in italics, or I'm not sure how it will show up from the billing system, but it will have a CR, and it will be noted on there that you do have a credit. So be looking for
How was that calculated?
Pardon me?
How was that calculated?
How
What's
is
the
what?
percentage? How's the credit calculated?
Well, what we did is we had the software company go in and reconfigure all of the bills back to the previous rate.
For the previous month.
So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you'll have a credit on your account, it'll show a credit on your account.
So are the bills gonna stay back where they were before?
No.
You've already been told that the rate was ridiculous.
So you'll have a threat for the difference.
So can I ask when that decision was made and why it wasn't done in an open meeting?
I received a phone call from Amanda and from the attorney in regards to the fact that we had voted on it and that the bills went out and that there's some discrepancy in the fact that we billed for previous days prior to the vote. And between me and the attorney and Amanda, we had a discussion on what was the best method for doing that.
No, you said that the board discussed it.
No.
I'm sorry, I was
misspoken. Okay.
misspoken, I'm so sorry, yes.
Okay.
It was not, it was
No,
me,
no.
it was me on the phone
Yeah.
with the attorney and with Amanda to try to
Okay,
figure out the
great.
legalities
Yes.
and what we needed to do.
Thanks for the clarification.
Sorry about that.
Okay, we're gonna move on to request to speak, Karina Jones, we're on here for a district policy.
So just for a little background, I know I seem like a know-it-all, but I did sit on the long-term planning committee last year. I spent several months with several community members, as well as a couple of board members, reviewing financials, policies, just day-to-day operations over the district. And with that, we came up with a short-term plan in December. And we came up with a short-term plan instead of a long-term plan because we felt that the status of the water district was not at a position for us to project 3, 5, 10 years out. So I just wanted to kind of address the board. I commend the efforts that have been made, and thank you, Bob, for moving forward with handbooks. I thank you guys for hiring an attorney who is very competent and is trying to wrangle all the numbers. Thank you for hiring an attorney. Those things are big improvements.
I go through this all the time, so yes, I have it in my,
So with that said, and it was brought up today, I would like to address some of, that we're 10 months in to this short-term plan, which was initially a 1-year plan. We do not have any district policies. Until Bob came on board, so I'm gonna praise you a little bit, Bob. Until Bob came on board, there had been no movement as far as getting any kind of policies together for elections, which all of these things were brought up by me and the other committee members in January, February, and none of that was done. I mean, we can go through the list. This is accessible on the website, so you can review it yourself. It may seem like a dry read, but it is very informative. So I just want to know where the board is, because had you followed policy and had a set policy, you would have saved yourself a lot of grief this last month, because you already had a form that you guys sent out with the rate increase that you did in February, and it didn't go into effect until April. So by having policies in place, you guys are saving yourselves a lot of grief. And so I would just like to know where you guys are, and as the board president, Jason, you are the one that sets the tone for that, where you are on addressing these others. And I don't think that the burden should fall solely on Bob, and the burden shouldn't fall solely on Alan as the accountant to get you guys compliant with a lot of these recommendations.
We did make a lot of headway on the short-term plan. We obviously haven't completed it.
I would say that's a matter of perspective on how much headway, but.
We'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. We'll do a review of the short-term plan and what we've accomplished and what we still have to work on. So we'll make that part of the meeting at the next meeting. So appreciate it.
And thank you guys for adjusting the rates.
Last item on the agenda is introduction of applicants for the election. Bob had mentioned the people who had applied for the position. Raise their hands. Is there any of those folks here today? Okay, we got 2, we got 3, 4. Would you guys like to come up and tell the group, this is probably the biggest crowd you'll have on a water district meeting. Tell them who you are and why you want to be a part of the board.
Come on down!
Not everybody else.
No one wants it?
You're the closest one up here. You want to go grab one?
He's District 1. one, right? Are you the five? You're three, okay.
And your name is, sir?
I'm Terry Gage. I've been a resident of Kimberly City for 24 years. I'm a retired commercial truck dealer out of Kansas City, Missouri. And one of the things that has really been good to my family and myself has been our water. Got to praise water the world in here. We've lived in a lot of different places, and the water's not good. This is. So, and we're concerned about the water. So that's the reason that I felt like if I can help, I'd like to get involved. Okay.
Hi Jason, how you doing? Pretty good, how about you? Not bad. Ward? No problem, sir. I see a few friendly faces in here, not too many. My name is Jim Potter. I live on Christina, over in, just off of, Joe Ball. And I've been here for 12 years. I've lived in 7 states around the country. My personal background is, I am currently a consulting engineer and a degreed electrical engineer. And my current project is a deployment of classified government radio systems around the country in 12 different locations. I'm program manager for that operation. I'm completely responsible for recruiting general contractors, all payments, permitting, and all the other stuff associated with doing those jobs. My background, my education is Drexel University a few years ago. Major electrical engineering, minor in management consulting. I've been in management consulting for years. I worked with Booz Allen Hamilton in Philadelphia and in Washington D.C., Price Waterhouse. I'm also an accountant and bookkeeper. I've been in senior management of 4 different manufacturing companies making electronics. Most of my background is associated with radio, broadcasting, and manufacturing and so forth. Over the years, I've received some credit and some praise and some awards and so forth. This is not braggadocious, but being characterized as a people person and somebody who can make harmony out of disputes. And right now, I've got 3 of them going. I've got one in Kansas, one in Virginia, one in Colorado, and that's like putting 2 scorpions in a bottle. I mean, it's something I enjoy. This opportunity here, I've been on several school boards over the years. Right now, I've been on the board of Tri-Lakes Community Singers for the last 12 years. When I moved here 12 years ago. And it's a nice little singing group headquartered at the Methodist Church. I'm also the secretary of the Methodist Men's Club over there and do a variety of community service things. I've been in charge of the Friday Night Loaves and Fishes program here in the community feed for the last 7 years. Serving the public is one of the things I like to do. I've been involved in transitions and takeovers and sellouts, things of this nature that we're discussing here, which intrigue me. There's a lot to be considered. I read the handout that was sent to us. Many pros and cons and so forth, and that's sort of my cup of tea. So I'd like to get involved with that and contribute whatever expertise that I could, and do a lot of listening and help the existing board make their decisions and help the community make the move ahead in a proper way.
What district do you belong in?
I'm sorry?
What district are you?
I'm in 1, right?
Yes, District 1.
District 1,
Yeah, there's a few people in 1, I'm in 1.
District 1.
Yep.
And thank you for reading. I came into you, my bill doubled. It went from $46 to $88. I came flying over here and complaining to you, and you said, "Oh, by the way, you can run for board member." Sure, sign me up.
But what did I make you do before that? I made you pet my dog.
That's right.
By the way, the credit's gonna be $4 per 100.
Or per
1,000 is gonna be your credit on your next bill. And then you're gonna get 1,000 gallons for free also.
So basically, by the way.
Just to let everyone know.
I appreciate it. I know we've known each other for a while, and I didn't know you had applied for it.
You're a better manager.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Who's gonna volunteer to go next?
So then you're our district.
Can everyone hear me? I am Christy Usher. I have lived here in Kimberling City in the PWSD 1 Water District for the last almost 9 years with my husband and my 3 kids. I do own 2 of the small businesses in town as well as a commercial building and several rentals. I have probably 10 tenants in the PWSD 1 district. So I do have a variety of people that are in the PWSD 1 district that I work with every day and talk with, that I represent. I do see a huge need to improve our infrastructure here for not only just fire flow. Our building was affected by fire. We had a severe loss a few years ago because we could not get water on the building fast enough. My insurance rate went from $5,000 a year to $18,000 a year from it. So if your insurance has not gone up yet, it will. Fire flow is something we definitely need in the area. We also need to be able to bring in more businesses, and I know nobody wants to see steep rate hikes. I feel like they're coming left and right these days. So my hope is to just work with the board, hopefully come up with a solution that works for the town, the citizens, and the businesses to help us move forward in the right direction.
Christie, thank you for your interest in being on the board. Again, full disclosure, I know Christie. I've done business with her like I've done with most all businesses in the area. She's a hard worker and definitely would be an asset to the board for sure. So.
Two.
Hey, we both live in the same district. I know I applied.
Okay. So,
I'll step aside, let her do it.
And you, sir?
I'm Jerry.
Jerry, okay. Got it.
I'm Jerry Nyborg.
District 3.
District 3 is where I'm told that I reside. We are a retired farmer from Chillicothe, Missouri, 250 miles to the north. 52 crop years. God blessed us. Decided we need to be doing something else because I have a son that is now 43 years old that has been dying from asthma. We went through over 100 doctors trying to find what's wrong. God moves us. This young man, that I'm very proud of, part of our business, says, Dad, I want to buy a boat. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story so you can enjoy it, and you can also understand how important water is. This young man has been taking shots since he was 6. He's been taking Sudafed. I should have owned Sudafed stock a long time ago. But he can't breathe. Hard for him to talk. His voice wasn't right. But he comes and he says, Dad, I want to buy a boat. Port of Kimberling in Kimberling City, Missouri, where I've been coming for over 40 years with a timeshare, had a boat. Him and I drove down. 3 days here at the Port of Kimberling Hotel, his voice cleared up. Wow. The swelling went out of his eyes. I saw his neck show up. Kimberling Cities has always been fun for me, but this was a life-changing event. We go home. Of course, he had to look at the boat. By the time we got to Sedalia, he swelled up again. God brought us back in 30 days. That was arrangements to come look at this boat. And that time, we met a doctor because we was looking at trying to buy a slip or rent a slip. We met a doctor out of St. Louis that agreed to look at my son. His name is Jason. And in that time frame, that one chance encounter of Kimberling City, we found the solution. We're in black soil up north. As a farmer of 52 years, that is critical in trying to make everything work. He's allergic to the mold on black soil. 1 out of 5 million is what we've been told.
Wow.
We come back down 30 days. We spend 3 weeks here. My son's celebrating. He feels good.
Yeah.
he can do things. Next couple of days, he says, Dad, I'm moving to Kimberling City. Now, he does all of our books for Nybarger Farms. We've been in business for a long time. The key was, he moved here. Now, he has a daughter, and my wife and I are very proud of him. But what do you think of grandma where she wants to be? No choice. We buy a house, and we've been down here since 2019, and I'll get on with the rest of the story. But I want you to understand the connection that as I've talked to people, most of us have come here from somewhere.
Right.
And we have to figure out how to make it work. This community was built, if you think about it, there was not a whole lot of planning done. That's why these folks that the serving here, they're pulling their hair out. These guys from American Water can tell us, because I've served on a rural water district up north. Similar situations, when they don't bed the water lines, what are you gonna have? Leaks. Leaks. Water gets away. So we gotta figure out how to fix that part. And I commend you. I commend you very much for that. God brought us down the path of life as a farmer. I'm born into it. That's what I wanted to do. We suffered a water problem in 1993 in North Missouri. You may have heard of it. It's called a flood. We farmed 1,500 acres of ground. Over 1,100 acres went underwater on July 17th in 1993. My wife and I are workers. We busted our tail. 1994, we diversified. I got insurance and investments. Had a person tell me I should do that. I got a good speaking voice, and I care about people. Estate planning was my focus and still is, but I am retired from that business. Every one of you people sitting here needs to have a plan. This board's putting a plan together. I am hoping that if you choose to have me do that, I'll be able to help and assist. My background as a financial advisor and estate planner is extensive. I work for a company called GE, General Electric. Our goal is to keep land from having to sell or houses having to sell when somebody passes away. Everybody needs a plan. I don't care too much about the things that bog a board down. The boards I've served on, that has always been a problem. Yes, we need the rules. We absolutely need the rules and we need to follow them. It's called the sunshine laws. In the state of Missouri, we need to be aware of them and try to avoid tripping triggers. But we also got to get business done. The water is a critical thing for every household here, for every citizen in this community, not only for us as ourselves, but for our businesses and to attract others. Kimberling City has been a hodgepodge of people coming together. Would you agree? Can you think of anybody that's born here from 60 years ago? They're few and far between.
I have a few, but I've lost those friends in recent years, yes.
And that's what happens. And then you have people like me that moved down here, but I've been coming here for 40 years. You know, we have one of the greatest secrets down here. It's called Lake Taneycomo. Trout fishing. Now, I'm an idiot. I'm admitting it. I got a problem. I'm an idiot. I've been going to Bennett Springs for 40 years to go trout fishing. And really, I come down here, I look at this boat, and a guy at Port of Kimberling says, "You do trout fishing? Where do you do that at?" Bennett Springs. Do you realize that we have in the United States, this is the best trout fishing lake there is? Pardon my French, but just no crap. I'm a farmer, sometimes I'm thick. Folks, I just want to serve. I've got experience. If you want to take advantage of it, it's great. If you don't, it's okay. I'm enjoying retirement and I go help people, I go do things. I live at 20 Hilltop, is where we live at. If you go down the shortcut street, we're the house with the grill. That's Chucky. He comes from a good doctor friend of a number of years. And Halloween is a good time for Chucky. We have lots of kids that stop and take pictures. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
The last applicant we have is John Sargent. Is he here by chance?
I don't think he was here.
Okay. Well, it looks like with the added publicity of the water district, we definitely got some really good applicants. I appreciate you guys all coming in and introducing yourself to the crowd and being willing to serve. It's sometimes a very thankless job to be on board, but it definitely is important work. So I do appreciate it. Seeing no additional items on the agenda, we stand adjourned. Thank you.